I will cover 5 areas in my introduction of the novel to you: the author, the cover, feedback, the structure, and of course, we will end with excerpts from the book. Dr. Vernon Andrews' Living Library. Personally, I believe that his story can now be shared beyond his network of persons who have been privileged to hear what has now been documented and will be revealed to many for the first time. Me personally, reading the book, a lot of things were revealed to me for the first time, even though others who have gone before or who are within the network would have known. And doubtless, there is still a lot to be shared, and yes, he is working on another book. The cover, sunrise or sunset. There is a picture of what appears to be the sun. Is it going down or is it coming up? One cannot really tell. And in the context of the narrative, this is an apt depiction. Given the title and my perspective, I would say it is a sunrise because it depicts hope, possibility, and promise, which spring from a rich, nostalgic past captured within 156 pages. But you, the reader, will decide whether it is sunrise or sunset, and that will be based on your unique worldview and perspective. Feedback from the novel. We heard from Dr. Roy Adams, Dr. David Williams, and Dr. Clive Dutton. I want to share with you what Dr. Sai Saliba, Director of Leadership, the Institute of Advent Health, said. He said the author's professional and personal life are intimately woven into this story of Seventh-day Adventist education and its nesting in the wider circle of Trinidad and Tobago's educational system. The book is an informative and delightful read, as well as an insightful historical document. Dr. Glenn Phillips, noted historian, retired professor at Morgan State University in Maryland. Over the course of a lifetime, very few individuals have had the opportunity and fortune to observe intimately the steady growth of an educational institution. Dr. Vernon E. Andrews had this wonderful experience at the Seventh-day Adventist Eastern Caribbean Pioneering Boarding School that began in 1927. He uses his excellent memory to unfold to the readers the various stages of his life, as well as that of his school, where his mother was one of the pioneering students from Guyana who later taught in Trinidad. Any Guyanese in the house today? This book consists of 18 chapters and 8 appendices. Although appearing to be a lot, the chapters are succinct, mini narratives which cohere into a continuous whole. His recollections are delivered in conversational style. He crosses time and space. In the middle of a story, he would just flash forward to a related scenario. Then he would stop and say, "Let me not jump ahead of myself," and he will move back to the original story. This, to me, allows for a merger of experiences across various times into one narrative in this specific time, in his trademark storytelling style. And yes, into all of this, his autobiography is weaved. It is a history book, but it is also a personal story. The first 7 chapters recount various select experiences of the author, from his birth to his childhood, his teenage years and adulthood, and simultaneously grounds these experiences in spatio-temporal, educational, and socio-cultural landscapes. These include his entrance into an experience in primary school, his introduction to and subsequent love for music, musical recollections, undergraduate experiences at Andrews Universities, and of course, meeting the love of his life. The recollections, yes, there's a love story in there as well. The recollection which served as the genesis for the title of the book, The Morning After the Night Before, is found in chapter 8, which is so named. The source of that chapter is grounded in his favorite landscape, music. In chapters 9 through 16, the author shares experiences from his adult life, which are also twinned with the physical, academic, and social growth of the East Caribbean Training School, now the University of the Southern Caribbean, as well as the Caribbean Union Conference. And we have a session going on now. Ironically, that's why it is so good and it is so appropriate that the book is being launched in this setting. The experiences shared resonate with themes of dedication, hard work, human relationships, prayer, leadership, resilience, tact, patience, and of course, God's providential leading, to name a few. The book ends with 8 documents under the caption Appendix. These documents are select writings, presentations, and correspondences written by the author over time. Within these chapters and within this book, you have the extra bonus of photos reflecting the various experiences identified. The very first photo is that of a little chubby-faced boy on a bicycle. The boy is Dr. Vernon Andrews. There are also 3 significant handwritten letters you would want to read. Dr. Roy Adams alluded to 2 of them. The other one is one from an 8-year-old boy, Dr. Vernon Andrews, to his daddy. And the letter contains all the misspelled scratches and, I dare say, bad penmanship. Excerpts. St. Joseph. At the onset, he maps the landscape in space. So I'm just going to read a couple excerpts for you because it would be remiss to do an overview of the book and not give you excerpts. So at the onset, he maps the landscape in space and time and situates his birth in St. Joseph with the Moyne Commission and World War II. The socio-cultural milieu is also immediately thrown into one page, and he says, the house with its spatial yard and lovely view of, this is advertisement for the people on YouTube, right? So they could see the book, right? The house with its spacious yard and lovely view of the majestic northern range still stands as an integral part of my memories and the home of 4 generations of Andrews over 120 years of occupancy. Modern architecture over the past few decades has been slowly replacing the old Victorian-style home in St. Joseph, Trinidad. My birth home, one of the few remaining ancient structures, sits on the corner of Buena Vista and Wellington Streets. I grew and developed into manhood within its walls, walls that tell tales of its early origin, walls built of tapia, lumber, and concrete, revealing evidence of early building material, renovations, and expansions. Walls that rekindle memories of my childhood and youth. Indeed, it is within these walls that the midwife entered, and I was birthed on Wednesday, May the 3rd, 1939, 6 months after the famous Moyne Commission was begun by the British colonial government and 4 months before the beginning of World War II. That's